Welcome, everyone, to Sports Buzz. I am Zach Barnett, and I'm joined in today with Eric King. He played defensive back in the NFL. Let's get it rocking with a good one, Eric. In
Sure.
your NFL journey, what was the toughest place to play
Ooh,
I guess a visitor?
you know what? When I was in Tennessee, we had those rivalries with Jacksonville. That's still a
Hmm.
rivalry today. But we went to the playoffs. 3 years in a row when I was there. But those rivalries versus Jacksonville with Jones Drew in the backfield, with Fred Taylor in the backfield, those are some monsters to try to tackle and get on the ground. And I just remember preparing those weeks. Coach Jeff Fisher, Jeff Schwartz, defensive coordinator. Those guys were pretty jacked up going into
Yep,
those Jacksonville weeks because we knew that it was going to be a physical game, and we knew we had to bring our hard hat. So that was one of the rivalries that I feel like we felt, and I felt the most.
definitely, man. I think my audience knows you from coming out of the draft going to Buffalo,
Mhm.
being a opponent of the Patriots 2 games a year. In today's game, this free agency, they've really turned the clock back and tried to bolster their defense rather than
Mhm.
their offense. So,
Mhm.
is that a surprising thing for you to see?
Well, they're going through transition.
Hmm.
As you can see, Buffalo, when I was there, we didn't have the quarterback that they have now.
Yep.
Not to say that our quarterback was bad, but I'm just saying that, this guy, Josh Allen, is just a different guy. You know, Highest paid quarterback in the NFL now,
Hmm.
much of what he deserved. So they're in a phase where they might be trying to shoot for a championship. But I remember back when I played, Brady was the quarterback for,
Yep.
for the Patriots. So they had to, put the right tools around him in order for him to do some of the things that he was able to do and he was capable of. And I think now they're just in a revamping stage, making sure they get the right pieces around the quarterback, making sure that Drable's going to do a good job with the defense because he's a defensive guy.
Yep.
So of course he's going to get his guys and get a different couple components that he's going to add in place to build out the roster the way it needs to be built out so that they can be effective coming up this season. So more of a rebuilding year for them, more of a reshifting and realignment. But Patriots are always a great organization in a great town, great place, one of the bigger markets as well. And, they're going to have support and they're going to be all right with Drable at the helm.
I think they need to do some more on their offense, man. They let their long term center go in Andrews. That center came out of Georgia, but they got Garrett Bradbury. I think it
Mm.
was yesterday, but they just need some receivers there besides Mac Holland.
Well, they're going to probably develop some guys. You're going to probably see some guys come on the scene that you didn't hear about. That's where stars are born in the NFL as well. Sometimes you're not always going to know who they have. And some guys are already in the tuck, working hard, just waiting for their opportunity. So some guys will get an opportunity. They'll probably add a piece or two. They might add a trade or something like that. Some teams have been more active in free agency than some other teams, but you still have the draft coming up. You can
That's
always find
true.
good players in the draft. It's definitely more of a lottery.
Yep,
Some of these first round guys won't turn out to be all that either, but it'll be a fifth round guy, fourth round guy, third round guy, sixth round guy that end up being a star, end up being a star as well. So they have to do a good job in that war room, in the scouting department, and in the GM in terms of making sure they pick the right guys that fit their scheme and fit their organization.
absolutely, man. I'm glad you mentioned the draft. Your
Yes.
Titans are on the clock, man.
Yeah, yeah, we are.
Uh, where do the Titans
Shador Sanders.
where do the Titans go with the number one overall pick? I think they're going Cam Ward, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I like Will. Cam Ward's a great pick as well. I'm a bit more high on Shador Sanders for the simple fact that he went to Jacksonville State and developed a program. He went
Hmm.
to Colorado and developed a program. These things are hard to do. I don't think everybody understands. It's a lot easier to go to a Tennessee, to go to a Florida, where you got some of the best athletes around you. I'm just
True.
using those as an example, SEC for instance, at a top program where you have the top skill level and you have the top linemen. When you're at Jackson State, when you're at Colorado, it's a different fight that you're in. So for him to have progressed, for him to have the career that he's had at those kinds of schools with those players around him, I just feel like that's an ultimate winner to a certain degree. So that makes the transition to the NFL not as hard. And it makes a transition to the NFL maybe even a little bit better when you put the right type of talent around him. I think he'll be able to produce. And of course, he has the head for it based off being, Deion's son. So I just think there's a couple components there to what he's done on the field, who he is as a young man, and, having that name. It does mean something. So that's my top pick right now.
Absolutely. Let's do a hypothetical. Say for example, they go out and get Hunter and build around Will Levis. How would you see that working for the team?
I like Will Levis. I think he's got fire. I think he's got talent. He's an area guy because he went to Kentucky. That helps in terms of your fan and your fan base and your support. And I think Will deserves a shot. Getting the right components around him, I think will help as well. We got the receivers that we've added. We've added some linemen. We're doing some good things. We're still in a rebuilding phase in Tennessee as well. But I think if we get the right pieces around Levis, he can produce in the NFL.
Hey, he would go both ways too. That's pretty tough to do in the NFL. That's a lot of snaps and wear and tear on your body.
It is. But when you're young, you're healthy, and you got that athleticism, you better use it all up because one day you won't be able to do it no more.
True. Your skill position is defensive back. This next topic is that in a nutshell. So with the current crop of talent in the NFL, top 5 DBs.
Top 5 DBs.
Who are they, man?
Ooh, I would have to go. I would have to say Derek Stingley Jr. It might be my top guy. I like Sauce Gardner. I like the kid from Cleveland. What's his name? I can't think of his name right now. Desmond Ward, I think.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, they had. There's a kid There's a kid with the Panthers that just got the bag.
Horn.
Yep.
Well, and he's an up and coming. Like I said, Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley Jr. Just got that mega deal. So those guys are the guys that I seem to follow a little bit more than the rest. So that's probably my top guys right now.
Hey, you asked me who mine are. I think
who are yours?
You gotta keep Ramsey in there. The old vet.
No, you do.
Him,
you do.
Stingley from the Texans.
Houston. Right.
Yep. The kid that won Defensive Player of the Year from the Broncos. You forgot to mention. You forgot.
How did I forget him? Oh man, he's awesome.
There's another one, and Gonzo from the Patriots. That's another one.
Well, let me tell you something about the Patriots. Alex Austin from the Patriots, who was a second-year guy last year. I coached him at Long Beach Poly.
Jeez.
So I had him in my secondary. That's how old I am now. So I have guys that I've coached that have now reached the NFL and have gotten drafted. So he started for me as a junior. And I was the first coach. I was the defensive back coach at Long Beach Poly with Antonio Pierce. He was our head coach at the time. Chris Claiborne was our defensive coordinator at the time. So we had an NFL staff. Hushman Zana was on our staff as well. And that was one of the kids that, I picked out and we're like, he's a guy. He works hard. He's diligent. He has the fire. He has the size. He has the speed. Let's get him coached up. And we got him coached up. And before you know it, he was at Oregon State balling out his whole career and then got drafted. Now he's a Patriot. Now he's doing really well. So another kid that probably in the future will see a big deal as well. So I'm just happy about that, man. That now I'm on this side, and through the training that I do, through some of the high schools that I worked in,
Hmm.
I've been able to develop kids, and now some of those kids are getting their opportunity at the NFL as well.
So you mentioned Alex. What's his projection as a NFL uh, player? What do you think
Well,
he's gonna? How do you think his career is gonna
well, I
turn
think he can
out?
be I think he can be a full time starter. Like I just said, I think he has the
Hmm.
size. I think he has the speed. I think he has the wherewithal. One thing I always loved about Alex was his mental and how sharp he was. He's a serious kid.
Hmm.
He's focused. He doesn't back down. And that's something that you really need as a DB. That can allow you to overcome a lot of other things. He isn't the biggest and he isn't the fastest, but in terms of how strong his mind is and his focus level, I've been able to see that kid develop and grow. And if you keep that focus level and that strictness to yourself about yourself, he has all of the tools to do everything he needs to do.
I think, like you said, that's going to be a three-headed monster there on the defensive backs.
Well, yeah,
Gonzo,
because
they got Carlton.
Gonzalez is again one of the better younger guys. I know
Yep,
he went through his injury, but how he was playing before his injury was lights out.
yep.
He has all of the tools as well, and is a big time performer as well.
They got Carlton Davis this year too.
Yeah, they did. So they
That's
adding some
crucial.
pieces. So, like you said, you guys are adding some pieces. And I always look forward to the season. Look forward to see what's coming up.
Definitely, man. My audience also knows you for playing DB for the Lions, the Detroit
Yes.
Lions. So my show wouldn't be the same. On my ending question, I always ask, what five description words uh, equals this thing? So, which five words best describe the Detroit Lions organization, man?
Mm. Grit, love, because the people of the city of Detroit, I mean, I haven't seen, maybe in Buffalo, with your Midwestern cities, you're going to get a certain love and a certain draw that is just not common, say, out west or say in a big city or in a big market. The teams just love the players. I mean, the city just loves the players. So I would say love. I would say grit. I would say fortitude. I would say excitement. And I would say new, right? Because it feels like we have a whole new organization in terms of where we have been and where we are now, right? That's new, right? The fortitude of the city and them sticking by us through all of the turmoil that we went through and all of the losing that we went through to now be where we are today. The excitement, of course, is through the roof now. And the city is gritty. The team is gritty. And it's just a lot of love that you feel in that city. And the Detroit as a whole, the city, Detroit, Michigan, gets a bad rap for maybe some of the things that the city has gone through in terms of the turmoil, in terms of the recession and different types of things like that. But the people, the different activities that you have in the areas, the outskirts are really nice, man. And Detroit is really it's really a good place. It's really a good place.
You know, where it all starts, I think the new culture they've brought into that city and that team. I think it starts with Dan Campbell.
Of course,
He is
of
such a
course.
being a player, then going into coaching. I think that fits him spot on as
Well,
being the head coach of the
he
Lions.
he aligns them. That's where the grit comes from. You
Hmm.
can hear it. You can hear it in his speeches. You can hear it in his talks to the media. Well, because he's a former player, so he fully understands.
Hmm.
If he's the kind of coach where if he could, he would put the helmets and pads on and go out there with you and do everything that he's asking you to do. So I really respect the coach that he's asking me to run through this wall for him, but I know that he'll run through the wall too. I'm more than willing to run through the wall. There's a lot of coaches out there that might ask you to do certain things that they could never do. They might ask you to do certain things that they never did. Not to say that you have to be a player to be a coach, but I'm just saying that when you have that vigor like that and you were a former player and now you are a coach, I just think that the guys can stand behind that a little stronger when the bullets get to flying and when you're in the war zone. That's what I just believe.
Absolutely, Eric. Well, Eric, this concludes our interview on Sports Buzz. I am Zach Barnett, and we'd welcome you back for another one, man.